Mr. Chair, we have a quorum. We want to start with the study session now. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's Board of Adjustment study session. Before we get started, let's go ahead and if we can get the next slide, please. Okay, so for next month, we have one case that's scheduled to go before the board. And that public hearing is scheduled for March 26th. And at this time, I would like to see if the board members would be able to attend that public hearing. Mr. Chair, will you be able to attend?
Yes, did you hear me? Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Schubert
Yes,
and Ms. Paulus,
I'm planning to attend, yes.
Mr. Marks,
Yes, I will be there.
and Ms. Duran.
Yes, I will be there.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to discussion for today's case, we have case C10-25-01. It's the Maloney Residence new carport. It's located at 2911 South La Cholla Boulevard. Can I get the next slide, please? So this property is located on the west side of Tucson. It's on La Cholla Boulevard. It's just south of 36th Street. This property is adjacent to what we call a collector street as identified on the major streets and routes plan map. And as such, whenever there is a request for a reduced setback to the front street, it does require a Board of Adjustment variance approval. This project started out as a roof repair or roof replacement, and then during the zoning review, it was noticed that the existing carport did not have any permits. So the applicant is here to get the permit for the existing carport in order to move on with the roof repair and other interior remodels. The applicant's request to the board is specifically related to the carport, and it's to reduce the front street perimeter yard setback from 20 feet to 4 feet as measured to the west lot line, that would be the front, and then to allow the carport to remain as constructed with a side perimeter yard setback reduced from 6 feet to 5 feet 11, and that's measured to the north lot line. Staff has no objection to the requested variances, and we have not received any comments regarding this variance request. And at the time, I'll go ahead and open up to the board for any questions.
Yeah, I have a question. Is there any information on whether or not this, when he was doing his roofing repairs and then all of a sudden this carport magically appeared? Do you know if he actually had a contractor build this for him? Or did he just decide he was gonna do it yourself type of thing? Do we know anything about that?
Mr. Chair, I do not know the specifics to that, but we can certainly ask the applicant when he's does his presentation.
I'll be sure to ask him.
Mr. Castro, the front street perimeter yard setback, it looks like from the aerial that you showed that there's no safety issues that result from putting this structure in the setback. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Castro?
Yes, Mr. Marks?
Could you tell me about the neighborhood support or objection? Normally we see a map that indicates the objectors and supporters, but I don't believe I got such a map this time.
Mr. Marks, the reason why you did not receive a map is because we did not receive any comments related to the variance request, so there was no protest or letters of support that we received.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Yeah, I have one other question. I was involved with a project in which I found out that one could not back onto a collector street such as Glen. And in that project, there was a gate that they drove up to, and it was too close to the street, and they couldn't back out onto Glen, so they had to have made some kind of U-turn in there. Is this true with this project? I'm curious.
That's correct. Mr. Chair, you do not want to be backing up into a collector or an arterial street. In the case of a residential property, we do, is it, just for clarity, is it allowed for residential properties? Okay.
Mr. Chair, residential properties are not generally allowed to back into the right-of-way, especially on a MSNR. I believe in this case, there's adequate room for them to maneuver their vehicle to back up and to then head front end out of the property, just based on the size of the driveway.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, just one additional question with regards to our findings. Just like to run through them, make sure that, because this is obviously in place, and assuming that he had a carport built there in the first place, obviously it would have been in accordance with the code, right?
Right.
And now you've put this thing on, it's not in accordance with the code. So I just want to make sure we're good with the findings. If we were to find in favor of the applicant, that we have all of our requirements, you know, that the special circumstances for the property, that kind of thing. So if we could just touch on some of them, I'd appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, I think the appropriate time for that discussion would be actually during the public hearing, but I would be happy to answer any code-related questions this time.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Don't have any.
Okay. Okay. So this will go ahead and conclude the study session. We'll break and then we'll adjourn at 1:30.
Or the applicant's representative will have the opportunity to speak. For the record, please tell the board your name and address and state your request. At the conclusion of the applicant's presentation, other persons wishing to speak in favor of the request may come forward to state their support. When they call the chair of the board, those wishing to speak in opposition to the applicant's request may come forward and state their protest. The chair may allow applicant the opportunity for a brief, rebuttal. The chair will then close the public hearing and open up a discussion by the board members. At the conclusion of the board's discussion, a motion will be made, and if seconded, will then be voted upon. All presentations today must be directed solely to the board and not to staff or members of the audience. All presentations to the board must also be only on those items brought before the board. Presentation on matters unrelated to the request will not be heard. The discussion of the Board of Adjustments will be may be appealed to the Superior Court of Pima County by filing a complaint for special action with the Pima County Superior Clerk's Office within 30 days of the board's decision. For additional information on this filing process, please contact the Superior Court Clerk's Office or an attorney after today's public hearing. If you are going to give testimony today, please be brief and to the point. Repetition of testimony may already given by other witnesses is not necessary. The chair may invoke a time limit if deemed necessary. Before you testify, please remember to sign in at the roster on the clipboard at the podium. And if you're joining us remotely, please state your name and address for the record. All testimony to the board must be given under oath. If you are going to speak or think you might speak today, please stand at this time and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Yes.
Is the applicant here? Okay,
I do.
okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder, please turn off all cell phones or to silence mode. If you are joining us remotely, please use your mute or please be sure to mute yourself and turn your cameras off unless you are addressing the board. Mr. Castro, please call the first case. Actually, did we actually call a roll call?
Right.
I should have done that first. I apologize for that. Can we have a roll call, please?
Bruce Dawson,
Here.
Miranda Schubert,
Here.
Irma Duran,
Here.
Bonnie Paulus,
Present?
Michael Marks.
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Castro, please call our first case.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. Our case today is C10-25-01, Maloney Residence New Carport. Michael Maloney, 2911 South La Cholla Boulevard, R1. The applicant's property is a 7,379 square foot lot, zoned R1 residential, and is developed with a single-family residence. Property is located on the east side of La Cholla Boulevard, a collector street identified on the major streets and routes plan map, and south of 36th Street. The existing carport was constructed without prior zoning approval and permit. The applicant is seeking the necessary zoning approval to allow the carport to remain as constructed. The applicant is requesting the following variances. 1, allow the carport to remain as constructed with a front street perimeter yard setback reduced from 20 feet to 4 feet as measured to the west lot line. And 2, allow the carport to remain as constructed with a side perimeter yard setback reduced from 6 feet to 5 feet 11 inches as measured to the north lot line, all as shown on the submitted plan. Planning and Development Services staff has no objection to the applicant's requested variances. It's the opinion of staff that there are special circumstances applicable to the property and that the requested variances would not constitute a grant of special privileges inconsistent with the limitations upon other properties in the vicinity and zone and would not be detrimental to public welfare or injurious to other property improvements in the neighborhood. To date, we have received no comments for this case. And Mr. Chair, members of the board, this concludes staff's presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Is the applicant here to make his presentation?
Hi, I'm Richard with Final Touch General Contracting. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So basically to start this out, I do a lot of work for the Habitat for Humanity here in Tucson. And they have accepted me to do a project. And of course I have to submit permits for everything. So I had done that in my findings and your findings through the city that once again, the structure that was installed there prior to me coming to the property at another date was done without permitting. So this is why we're here. I have, being a general contractor, I've been building for over 20 years in Tucson. I have viewed the actual structure that was installed, and it's in my belief that it is up to building standards and code. It's very solidly built. It's welded, and it definitely isn't going anywhere. The wind's not taking this one. So in my rate, we're just trying to get the project back on track for Habitat for Humanity so that we can fix Mr. Maloney's house. I do understand that he was out of compliance, and he now is aware of that. He, it doesn't understand all of the city's codes and variances and whatnot. So he had thrown that structure up so he could put his truck underneath there, not knowing and not thinking of it. And he does apologize for that. And now knows you don't do stuff like that. And I find it all over Tucson, people just not understanding the code and putting structures up without asking. At any rate, that's why we're here today. I do believe that it's built solid and it's structurally sound. I guess it's now just in the hands of you all to make a decision on which way you want to go with it. I appreciate you. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Yes, I have a question. Did the owner build this himself?
He had a company, actually. Obviously not a licensed contractor. He had a gentleman come out and install him this structure. A steel fabricator did it for him right there in place with the welder, and welded everything in place. And no, he didn't hire a licensed contractor. I can tell you that. I just don't know. It's been years since he's had it up there. I'm not sure when the last aerial views were taken without it there, what year that was. But I can't tell you what year he put it up, but I will tell you that it was built solid. But he went through just probably like a handyman type of guy to put it up.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I would imagine that if he had used a licensed contractor, we wouldn't be here right now.
Absolutely. I agree.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, Michael.
Yeah, I'd just like to ask the petitioner what the connection of Habitat for Humanity is with the owner. There was reference to Habitat for Humanity, but I'm not sure what the connection is. Could you explain that?
I could explain it. Yeah. So Habitat for Humanity does contracts with homeowners that are in need of help. And I'm not sure exactly how their contract states, but it's something like this. So they allot them only a certain amount of money to be able to help them out and put a new roof on their house, maybe a new AC unit or whatever they're in dire needs of that they don't have the money for. They then go into contract when they sign the contract with Habitat for Humanity. Habitat for Humanity then pays the contractor that's awarded the project, and that owner has to live in that house for 10 years without renting it, without selling it, in order to be compliant with the Habitat for Humanity. If they stay in the house for that long, then the money just goes away. They don't have to pay it back. It doesn't raise it's not like a loan where it raises their mortgage payment or anything like that.
So in this case, the owner did use Habitat for Humanity to secure a contractor.
Yes, and that's where they got me. So I got awarded to redo the roof, and do some plumbing fixes and some electrical, some small stuff, and then that's when I submitted my permit to the city, and then that's when you guys found that the structure by doing the aerial was not in compliant.
Okay.
That's how that started the whole ball rolling here, and why we're here today.
Okay. One more question, and this was alluded to somewhat in the study session. Could you describe the maneuvering out of the garage or the carport, I should say?
Yeah, so you see where that structure is. So he pulls in at the opposite end of his property line. He has a big rolling gate. So it's pretty good access. I think he's got about at least 8 feet across that. So he rolls in that and then literally turns left, which is north, and drives right under that little structure. So when he backs out, he has to back out the same exact way he pulled in. And when he gets to the outside of his fence line, there's a good 20 feet to the street of dirt. So he can't to the main road of La Cholla. So it's, if you look at the site plan, it shows it's at least from his fence line to the main road is a good 20 feet. So he can easily pull in and out of there without any obstruction to oncoming or traffic or anything like that. It's completely safe.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question about the special circumstances. The application mentions that there's no other place for covered on-site parking due to existing building placement and site size. Are you able to provide any more details about that, just so that we're sure that this was the minimum required for relief?
So there's plenty of space to park. As I said before, as you pull in that 8-foot gate, he can either go left and park under his structure, or he's got a good at least 15, 20 by 20 spot right in front of that gate that he could pull into and park out there too. You could fit, if I was to say, you could probably fit 5 or 6 cars just in that area alone.
But
Is that
there's no
it?
other place on the site where a covered carport could have been located?
No, because the width of the yard. So the width of the yard, as you see that structure that he did put up, even if it wasn't there, he's only got about 5 feet in between the property line and his house. And then if you go to the other side, he has even less. So there's no way to get a car behind the house. It would be in the backyard at that point.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Hearing none, thank you, sir. I appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
Now I will ask if there is anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application. Hearing none, I'll ask if there is anyone wishing to speak in opposition to the project. Hearing none, I will therefore close the public hearing in this case. So thank you, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, public hearing is closed. Any discussion?
Seeing no discussion, Mr. Chair, I'd like to propose a motion.
Please.
I move that we grant the following variances in case C10 25-01, Maloney Residence New Carport, 2911 South La Cholla Boulevard. 1, to allow the carport to remain as constructed with a front street perimeter yard setback reduced from 20 feet to 4 feet as measured to the west property line. And 2, to allow the carport to remain as constructed with a side perimeter yard setback reduced from 6 feet to 5 feet 11 as measured to the north lot line, all as shown on the submitted plan. There are no special conditions associated with this motion. The evidence that was presented today shows that there are special circumstances which were not self-imposed and which are applicable to the property and support the granting of the requested variances. Specifically, special circumstances applicable to the property such that strict enjoyment of the UDC will deprive such property of privileges enjoyed by other property of the same classification. 2, that granting of this variance will not be detrimental to the public welfare, and the variance is the minimum variance that will afford relief.
Can anyone second that, please?
I'll second.
It has been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you very much. Good luck with your project.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Okay. I think that means we're done. Is there any other business we need to be discussing?
No other business, Mr. Chair.
Then I will call adjournment. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.